Brad Roberts was running on fumes. He lived on ambition, but it wasn't working anymore. He was good at disruption, but he was tired of being cynical. For years he had chased success, but every victory just left him emptier than the last. He felt like a fraud. Chloe Davison, the editor-in-chief, opened the door. She was steady and neat, the opposite of him. "Chloe, I'm looking at the numbers. Your devotional line is dead weight. We need titles that sell. Stop focusing on history and start focusing on product." "We publish truth that lasts, Brad. I'm trying to save something important in a company that only cares about speed." Their fight came to a head in the storage room. It was dusty and packed with old stuff. "Just trash the junk, Chloe. I need this space for the new studio, now." "This isn't junk. It's the company's history. Just give me one more day. I'll handle it." A day later, Chloe was tired and covered in dirt. Brad found her there. "Come on, Chloe, let it go." "Wait, look. I found these way in the back. Handwritten sermon notes. Really old." Brad lets out a sharp, impatient breath, then grabs a page. Being real isn't about throwing out the sacred. It's seeing the sacred was just there. It was waiting for us to stop worrying about money and just take the gift. Brad went still. Stop worrying about money. That sentence hit him hard. It felt like it was written just for him. His hand shook a little, holding the paper. He had been running his entire life based on that one calculation, and he was empty. Chloe. She'd been reading another note, but she looks up, seeing his face. "What is it, Brad?" His voice is suddenly thin, vulnerable. "This guy, he knows exactly what I do. All I do is run numbers, all the time. I didn't realize I was waiting for anything until I read that." Chloe. She reads softly, moving closer, her voice gentle. "Don't think the slow path means you're alone. True strength is when you slow down and see the person walking beside you, even if you thought you had to fight them." Brad put his hand over his face. He was exposed, standing in a dirty room, completely blindsided by a piece of paper. "I feel like I just got lectured, and it was exactly what I needed." Chloe puts her hand lightly on his arm. It's a plain, human contact. "The truth always shows up, Brad." Chloe lowered her head, holding the notebook. Brad didn't think about it. He bowed his head, too. "God, thank you for your gentle but firm intervention. We confess we've been running on our own plans, and we've been wrong. Help us truly submit to your truth and use these words for your glory, not our gain. Amen." My life, too. Amen. The air felt lighter. The professional wall between them was gone. Brad looked at Chloe and saw someone he could actually trust. Chloe looked at Brad and saw the real person beneath the arrogance. Their new project and the new connection had started. Scene 2, the first collaboration. The quiet moment didn't last. Brad snapped back into work mode, rubbing the dust off his hands. The sermon notes were a revelation, but they were also a product. Chloe was still holding the notebook like it was fragile glass. "Okay, we have to figure out who wrote this. No author, no date, no way to clear the rights." "We can't think about rights first. We need to respect the message. This isn't just content, Brad." "Look, if it's this good, and it is, we have an obligation to get it out there, but that means making it legal. If we publish someone else's work, we get sued. End of mission." Brad was right, and Chloe knew it. They moved their operation into Chloe's office. They spread the fragile, unbound pages across a big oak table. Their elbows kept bumping as they worked, a small, awkward sign of their new closeness. "I looked up the handwriting in the archives, but nothing matches. The script is too distinct. It looks like it was written in the late 40s, maybe early 50s. Late 40s? That's ancient history. We're looking for a needle in a 50-year-old haystack. We need a modern angle." "The modern angle is the message. It's real. People are drowning in fake stuff. This is the antidote." Brad walked around the table, staring down on the notes. He was thinking about the honesty he was finally chasing. As they translated, they found another note. Chloe.
Faith isn't a destination you arrive at, it's just showing up every morning and cleaning the windows so you can see the sun again. Brad, nodding. That hits different. All right, I have connections outside of publishing. I can put feelers out to some specialized historical research firms. We pay someone to track down the author, quietly, no headlines yet. That's a lot of trust, Brad, giving up control of the search. I get it, but we don't have time to do it the traditional way. If this is a gift, we need to treat it like a fire, handle it fast, and get it out there. I'll front the cost personally so it doesn't show up on Jericho's books yet. Brad Roberts spending his own money on an anonymous sermon from the 1950s. For Brad, money was the only thing he respected. This was his first impulsive act of faith. Brad stepped out briefly to make the initial contact with the research firm. Left alone in her office with the weight of the new project and Brad's intensity, Chloe dropped into her chair. Oh Lord, this is huge, and I'm terrified. Brad is sincere, I know he is, but he's still so much. He still runs so fast. Please, give me the strength to be the anchor here. Keep him honest and keep me steady. I can't do this alone. Show me the next right step. Amen. She straightened up, feeling a renewed sense of calm. She reached for the notes, ready to continue. The research is underway, 5 days max before they report back. Okay, but you promise me, if we find the author or their family, the focus is the message first. No cheap marketing gimmicks. No gimmicks. We just publish the truth, Chloe. That's the new plan. It was the first time they'd agreed on something that mattered. They were two people sitting in a messy office, determined to save a dead man's words. Final chapter, The Gift. 6 months later, the sermon notes, published simply as The Gift, Finding Grace When You're Running the Numbers, was the quiet sensation of the year. It wasn't a bestseller based on a loud marketing campaign. It was a success built entirely on genuine word of mouth. Brad's expensive historical firm nearly gave up as the church records were incomplete, but a genealogist finally traced the unique sermon style back to Brad's own lineage. The notes belonged to William Roberts, Brad's great-uncle, a small-town pastor who died young and was completely forgotten by the family. Brad sat in his now organized office, reading the final page of the notes, the author's biography. William Roberts, my great-uncle. The irony is staggering. I spent my life avoiding the old-school faith, and my own family wrote the one book that broke through my arrogance. The royalties, which were substantial, went entirely to William's small, struggling parish, Brad's insistence, despite his accountant's protests. Chloe found him there, holding a worn copy of the book. The relationship between them had settled into a kind of mutual respect and deep trust. They were partners, navigating the corporate world with a shared purpose. That's the third copy you've worn out. It's a habit. I need to reread the tough parts. The historical firm found a box of William's old letters. He mentioned how much he struggled with the idea of prosperity and faith, how much he worried about his own ambition. He wrote those notes for people like him, like us. Brad looked at the worn book, reflecting on the line about taking the gift. He realized the gift wasn't just the message, it was the offer of a new life. He was done running his own show. God, you didn't just break through my plan. You met me right where I was hiding. It wasn't a sudden, blinding flash. It was a calm, profound surrender. Brad put his head down in quiet acceptance. He didn't have to control this outcome or count the cost. He just had to receive the grace and follow the guidance. That moment completed the change. I realized that my whole life I was trying to prove I was valuable by selling big ideas, but William proved that the most valuable thing I could do was just pass on an old truth. It's a lot less tiring when you're not the one in charge. The emails we get now are different. They don't talk about book clubs or market share. They talk about marriages saved and decisions changed. That's the endurance I was fighting for. We did it, Chloe. We kept it honest. We kept the focus on the gift. We did. You brought the speed, and I brought the anchor. We make a good team. Brad looked at her. He thought about their first kiss, the one that had happened quietly a few weeks ago after a late-night session. It was the natural finish to two people who had finally dropped their defenses and found common ground in faith. We should probably start working on the next project. There's a whole generation out there still looking for the truth. I agree. Let's see what else the archives are hiding. As Brad and Chloe walked out of the newly energized Jericho Press office, they weren't the cynical executive and the resistant editor anymore. They were two people walking the same path, submitted to the same guidance, ready for the next challenge. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path. Psalm 119, 105, World English Bible.